want to start by thanking Trevor for putting this together, having the vision to bring everybody in the room, and for Tracy for making it all happen. It's an amazing gathering of people. My name is Matt Roszak. I'm a blockchain investor, entrepreneur, and advocate. I started in this space by investing and kind of building an education of how the white spaces in Bitcoin blockchain were forming. I also serve as chairman of the Chamber of Digital Commerce, which is the largest trade association in the space. So I'm not necessarily pro-regulation, I'm pro-innovation, but if you care deeply about this space, you need to engage with regulators, you need to talk to members of Congress, you need to speak with government and tell them what this technology is, what it isn't, and how it's going to transform literally every layer of government and enterprise and society. And so it's very, very important. And most recently, so 2 years ago, I co-founded Bloq, which is a blockchain technology company with my co-founder, Jeff Garzik. And we're building some cool stuff. But what I really like is the storytelling in this space. These gatherings are very important. The storytelling of what is Bitcoin, what is blockchain. Hearing it from 10 different people, 10 different ways is super important. You just start to understand some of the concepts involved. And so gatherings like this are amazing. And you're sitting next to somebody that ran an incredibly successful hedge fund, to a developer, to a CIO of a Fortune 500 company. These are the days that this industry is starting to form and develop and unfold, because quite frankly, we are in the stone ages of cryptocurrency. We are like a $500 billion blip. And if you kind of fast forward the movie in front of us, it gets really, really exciting. But we have a lot of work to do. At the same time, I feel like this is one of those generational opportunities for entrepreneurs and investors, the once in a lifetime thing. This is kind of it. And the thing for me, being a venture guy, a tech entrepreneur, I always remember hearing people talk about, oh, I'm building this cool app, it's going to change the world. And I'm like, that's like a social gaming thing. Like, how is that gonna change the world? And after 20 years of doing that, investing in lots of companies, for the first time in my life, I felt like I am now a part of something that's gonna change the world. That's really impactful, it's really cool. I've never had that. And it's cool to be a part of it. So there's this old adage where money is power, typically reserved for the few. And now with the advent of cryptocurrencies, money is now technology. And so fast forward that movie, now technology is power. And we're seeing some of that come into focus when you look at Mark Andreessen's quote, software is eating the world, and you see the Ubers, the Airbnbs, the Facebooks, et cetera, these networks that are developing, creating lots of value with no, very asset-light or asset-free kind of models. I also like David Johnston, who's here with us at this conference, his quote where, if it can be decentralized, it will be decentralized, which is interesting on money, identity, and all these new layers of the internet that we're seeing unfold in front of our eyes. And there's two worlds under construction right now. There's this enterprise world, the government, financial services that is starting to explore, do proofs of concepts, and trying to embrace this new technology and kind of develop this new plumbing for themselves based on blockchain tech. And then on the other side, you have this decentralized world, the decentralized money, self-sovereign identity, et cetera. And these two worlds are very interesting to see right now, because on one hand, you have every bank, every financial institution rushing into blockchain, right? And very self-aware, right? Because they're getting potentially disintermediated by this new tech and these new workflows where banks and credit cards and everything else is just a software layer. And so massive adoption, massive exploration there, and for the most part, a lot of enterprise customers are using this tech for cost reduction. There's a staircase step where it's cost reduction, growth, and maybe transformation. It's hard to be public and regulated and just jump to transformation. So a lot of the banks, insurance companies, et cetera, are thinking about smart ways to save money. And that's a great stepstone. But it's just not the point. McKinsey says financial services banks are going to save $100 billion using blockchain tech. That's fantastic. That's probably off by a massive multiple, but it's just not the point of this technology. It will help them open up doors and see around corners that they can't see right now, so they have to go through this process. And we'll see how that kind of plays out, but again, it's just not the point of this technology. What's happening underneath their feet is this new asset class, these new workflows are developing, and that's going to be interesting to see how these two worlds connect or collide, and it's going to be an interesting see what the calibration looks like between these two worlds. So for Bloq, we've mapped our business very similar to how this ecosystem looks today. My co-founder, Jeff Garzik, was a kernel developer at Linux, so he worked with Linus Torvalds, and he was also a Bitcoin core developer, and literally went from Satoshi to Gavin Andreessen to Jeff. And so the Venn diagram for Jeff is pretty unique, where he sits at the intersection of somebody that worked with Linus and Satoshi, and just a fantastic innovator and visionary. And so with Bloq, we're building lots of blockchain infrastructure and being mindful of the enterprise class of customers. And there's two types of enterprise customers. We work with top 3 bank, top 3 asset manager, top 3 manufacturer in the world, top 3 credit card, on and on. So kind of the Fortune 50, if you will. And then we also work with the crypto 50. So we build infrastructure, multi-currency wallets, multi-currency nodes, APIs, dev environments, connecting existing business systems with this new crypto world. That's what Bloq Enterprise does. And we kind of help bridge that gap right now, both intellectually and then technologically, on making that connective tissue. And then Bloq Labs, what's interesting is about a year and a half ago, we were approached by a few interesting projects, and we advised on a few deals. We were technical advisors on a few deals. We wound up co-founding a few deals. And then that opened up kind of our ability to exercise some of the smarts and people and things that we have in-house to build new layers, money layers, identity layers, et cetera, and kind of be a builder, a plumber of this. We're not an ICO shop or ICO Sherpa, et cetera. There's a lot of great resources in that space. We're plumbers. We are builders of those technologies and those ecosystems. So we've partnered with Quantum and Civic and Dragon Chain, and we've done about a dozen deals in that space where we have been successful in, look, a guy raises $100 million in this space and on a white paper and a good compass, but they still have to build this stuff. So we've been helpful in that regard. We also are looking forward to what's next, because blockchain and crypto is this movie. The font of innovation continues to unfold, and it's exciting. It's like it's inspiring every day to see new headlines of a new scaling technology or new extensification of this ecosystem, and that's what kind of led us to building a new novel cryptocurrency called Metronome. And we started with a blank sheet of paper and said, if one was to build a new cryptocurrency today, what would it have? And we had developed these 3 core principles of self-governance, reliability, and portability to create this durable cryptocurrency, and we're really excited about it. One of the guiding principles was this self-governance piece, and the existential threat in this space on crypto, and it's not necessarily folks exactly in this room. We don't have night sweats about, and there were moments maybe when we did, that the miners are going to collude and do a 51%, or Vitalik is going to change Ethereum, or whatever that screenplay, drama thing is. We don't necessarily have a lot of those issues, but what if you were just to mathematically and just technologically take all those existential threats away and create an autonomous money layer? Autonomous meaning like Once it launches, you can't stop it. It's just, the rules are set in stone. And so we thought about, developing that, and these autonomous layers of blockchain and crypto are the hardest to build because you have to test it, audit it, and make sure it works when you launch it. And so a lot of the technologies and models out there in some ways are almost exercise for developing these autonomous layers. You have an autonomous layer of money or identity or some of these new layers that are just launched and unstoppable. It's very powerful. And so the second piece is the reliability. And this is the mintage curve of Metronome, meaning the mintage curve will never change. We start in an initial auction of 10 million Metronome tokens. And then every day, there's a daily auction of 2 tokens a minute, 2880 a day. That mintage curve looks like a 10% inflation in the first year, goes down to 5% by year 10, and about 2% by year 42. And we lock in that 2% forever, kind of a healthy inflation curve, if you will, for a crypto, for an economy, et cetera. And so having that predictability is really important when not only you want to intellectually, financially back a particular crypto, but also for machine to machine. And we talk about payment processing. We're going to be talking about payment programming over the next half decade. How are machines and, if I want to pay somebody 30, 40 years out, what's the most durable, the most predictable kind of crypto that can handle that kind of a program? And that's really, really important. The third piece that we're really proud about is this portability. And so when we launched Metronome at Money 2020, announced it, we didn't launch a white paper. We had an owner's manual, which is a very different relationship with your crypto, meaning it's yours. This is your crypto. You self-govern how this behaves because Metronome is one of the world's first portable cryptocurrency, meaning it's born on Ethereum, but it can move to any other EVM. So think EOS and Quantum and Ethereum Classic and when Rootstock and Bitcoin have a baby, you'll be able to move your boxcar from one railroad to another. And that's an innovation. That's new. And it kind of goes back to this notion of self-governance, right? You decide where it resides. And if there's a risk on a particular rail, you can move it and your Metronome still lives. That's an innovation. And so, in summary, the technology, what's interesting with the way we're launching Metronome is that it's built. We're not raising a pre-ICO. It's not like, hey, we'll do a Medium post in 3 months or 6 months and tell you how the project's going. We've been engineering and building this, testing this, auditing this, going through regulatory dynamics for the last year. And so when it launches, it's game ready. The auction starts and the system works. So that's kind of a new approach. And I think the bar is going to be raising in terms of how people get access to capital on their projects, show us some code, or just have a working product, et cetera. And so we're starting to see some of those wins change. The token economics, in thinking through a new novel cryptocurrency, you have to think about the kindling and the flywheel turns of how you start. And so the initial auction, the daily auctions, and most notably, when we sell the 8 million tokens in the auction, 2 million are retained by Bloq as the author of this. It's locked up over 3 years. You should ask, well, what do you do with all the proceeds when you sell the 8 million tokens? That's a great question. It doesn't go into some foundation. It doesn't go into Bloq. It actually goes into a smart contract. And a smart contract puts out 25 basis points out of that smart contract into a changer contract that provides liquidity and price support to the Metronome community. So the use of proceeds goes right back to the people that use Metronome. So again, thinking through the blank sheet of paper, how do you build that kindling and get some adoption on a new crypto that's new, novel, and different. And there's no pre-ICO. This is an auction. It's a descending price auction, which means, and it's hard to do that because everybody wants to get pre-ICO money and a discount and all this crazy stuff, and people are tuned to that at this point. This is wildly different. There's no pre-ICO. Nobody has an advantage. Everybody starts in the auction on the same footing. And that was purpose-built because, you know, in building a new crypto, you want to have that kind of an ethos. And so I'll end with how I started. You guys are in the right room at the right time. This is an amazing opportunity for entrepreneurs, investors, developers. And what I love is that it attracts the best talent from every industry. And I love going to these conferences because I always meet somebody that's super interesting, and I learn something. And so this is amazing, and thank you very much.